Good evening and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video I will show you how I use an application called TextExpander to speed up my processing of text on iOS and Mac. I have a similar application on my Windows PC. Actually, I use AutoHotkey. I will discuss that application in a different video, but for now I will talk about my text expansion application, TextExpander. So let's start TextExpander. I will quickly bring up the TextExpander application and I will show you what this application is all about. Essentially, TextExpander is about speeding up the process of writing text. So if you find yourself writing a piece of text over and over again, what you do is you use TextExpander to automatically write a shortcut for this text, which then expands to the full text. So for example, I have my iOS snippets here. Let's take a look at this. I always get questions about grades, so I have created special snippets for these items. For example, I have 12th grade and 7th grade, the first two items on this list. Let's go into one of them, and this is the body of the TextExpander snippet. And if you take a look at it, I have the body of the email, and then I have certain keywords, for example, fill name and fill grade. And that is essentially a placeholder which tells TextExpander that I need to fill values for these particular items so that they can then be entered into the text. For example, let's give this a try. If I go into drafts and I write 12th grade, since this is a TextExpander snippet, it automatically starts TextExpander, and if you see the part which I designated as fill is a part which I can enter. So for example, I can say John, that's the name of the student, and then I can enter the grade, for example, like say the student got 18. Then I can say done, and what happens is then I automatically get the email filled up with all of the items I want. If I have emails which I write quite often, as I actually do, then that TextExpander snippet, the process of expanding a small piece of text into a much larger email, will save me a huge amount of time. Let's go back into TextExpander and let me show you a different snippet. So one of the things that I handle in my job quite often is the writing letters of recommendations. So I do have a couple of things which I create. So for example, this is a text snippet recommendation reply, or rec reply, which I use quite often when a student sends me that they want me to write them a letter of recommendation. I would actually go into drafts. Let's select all of this text and delete it. Then I would write rec reply, which is recommendation reply. It automatically again opens this application. I can fill in the name of the student, done, and this is the email I would then send to the student to request that they actually send me their information, for example, full name, ID, and so on. Of course, writing letters of recommendation are personal, and you need to write each one individually, but I do have a form which allows me to quickly write the skeleton of the letter of recommendation, which I then go ahead and edit to customize it. And this is the my rec, or my recommendation, TextExpander snippet. And if you take a look at it, see, it's my rec here, contains a lot of fill items. Each of these fill items will open a box where I can enter some information. And let's try this. Let me show you how it works. Again, I go into drafts, it's my go-to text application. Let me delete this Dear John email. So if I write my rec, again, it opens TextExpander, then you see you have a couple of options. First, you have to write the name of the student. So let's say John, and if you notice, it's automatically filled in several places. That's all of the places in that script which I designated as the name of the student. Then I enter the number of years that I've known the student. For example, I could say 4, or the percentage in the class, so top, say 1%, whether it's a him or a her. Again, that gets automatically filled. He or she, it's automatically filled, and then I can just do this, and there it is. So I have a full email now. You see the email is completely typed in. All I have to do is just send this email. And this, of course, I don't send like this as it is, because as I mentioned before, writing letters of recommendations are extremely, it's a personal experience. You have to write your opinion about a specific student. You have to customize it and tailor it to the student you're talking about. But this format, this basic format, is the base from which I can then work and edit the text to come up with a more complete letter of recommendation that is customized to a specific student. Of course, I don't use text expansion only for writing emails or forms, which I fill quite often. I also use it for text that I use quite often. For example, my home telephone. Instead of remembering my home telephone, I just write HTEL, which expands to my home telephone. Similarly, if you've watched my previous video on how I process meeting notes and drafts, you'll notice that I tag to-do items with the T-Todoist tag and the calendar items with the CCal tag, and again, I use text snippets for this. So if I write TTO, expands T-Todoist, which is the tag I then use to process an item as a to-do list item, which automatically gets parsed into my Todoist application, my to-do list manager, when I process the minute notes. I presented this in a previous video. And again, other things which I use quite often, like my work email. So if I write eWork, it expands to my work email, my private email, my VT email, and so on. So, okay, well, obviously the snippet is not in the system yet, I apologize. My mobile phone, so MTEL, it's my mobile phone, my blog, bblog, and so on. So essentially, any piece of text that you repeat quite often can benefit from text expansion software. And TextExpander, which is my favorite text expander software, operates on Mac and iOS devices, and it synchronizes the snippets so that I can use them across all of these platforms. Anything you'd like to think about. So, for example, let me add my VT email now. So let's first search if it's there. No, it's not there. So let me show you how I would add a snippet. So, for example, I press first on the plus sign at the bottom right corner. Then I write the abbreviation. For example, I'm going to say EVT mail. So this is email for Virginia Tech. And I can then go ahead and write the plain text, which is fehmi@vt.edu. I do that, done. It's now saved. I can use it, but because iOS doesn't automatically update text snippets from TextExpander into the system, I first need to go into the settings of Drafts or whatever application I'm using that supports TextExpander. Go to the TextExpander refresh the snippets, and now we're done. So if I go now and say EVT mail, it expands to my Virginia Tech email. And that is how you use TextExpander. Again, you need to customize this to your workflow. Notice what you use, what piece of text you write quite often. Give it a TextExpander snippet, which is unique, and you will not accidentally write it as part of text. So, for example, I like to double the first word or write a combination of letters that is improbable or impossible in real words. And that allows me to create text snippets which I could then use in my application. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this short video, allows you to understand the power of text expansion and how you can use it in your workflow.